It's 5:30 p.m. on November 9th, 2020, and 15-year-old Kimberly Stone is giving a statement to a detective of Florida's Polk County. She had been in a van with 3 other occupants when it was pulled over by police on a tip from a 911 caller that it was involved in a hit and run. The two were speaking in the area of Berkeley Road and Denton Avenue, about 7 miles or 11 kilometers south from the scene of the incident, where an older woman was critically injured after being struck by the vehicle. "I was curled up in the back seat," Kimberly told the detective. She said her boyfriend, who was the driver, and 2 other friends got into the van after visiting the home of Hunter Penton, a fellow student at Auburndale High School. After putting the car in drive, she said her boyfriend took a left turn out of the spot they parked at, which was partially on the grass directly across the street from the home. "That's when Hunter's mom walked out and we didn't have time to stop," an emotional Kimberly said during the 7-minute interview. "And the van, it just hit her. I feel so bad because she would let me into her house and she fed me," Kimberly said, referring to 52-year-old Suzette Penton. "And she was like my mom when my mom left me, and I just sat there and watched and I couldn't do anything." She said they didn't know in the moment whether to stop or keep going after realizing they had hit Suzette, but they kept going anyway. Suzette was laying face down and motionless on the pavement. She was rushed to Lakeland Regional Health Medical Center in life-threatening condition with a fractured skull, severe brain bleeding, and a broken leg. She was put in the intensive care unit. Within the space of 3 weeks, investigators were able to quickly piece together the story of how this all happened. Was it a freak accident or something more? The answer to that question, according to investigators, would come relatively quickly. That's because the entire event, from beginning to end, was recorded.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
It's in the middle of a road. Some man just run over one right in front of me.
Okay.
Here at Polk City and
Between Polk City and 33 Berkeley Road.
We already have help on the way, okay? We're getting inundated with calls.
get them here quick. She's hurting and she's hurting now.
She looks like she's still alive, so if they could get somebody here in a hurry.
I understand that. Okay, we do have help going out as quickly as possible.
Sheriff Christina Poindexter was the first on the scene. She had been on Broadway and State Road 33, about a block from the incident when it happened. As she approached Suzette, her heart began to race. Suzette had been bleeding from her head, nose, ears, and a little bit from her eyes. She had tire tracks on her body. The entire image was unforgettable, made more so because this was Suzette. Like many of the residents of the then 1,500-person-strong Polk City, Christina knew her. Born in South Bend, Indiana in 1968, she spent over 46 years in Polk County and was the beloved librarian of the Polk City Community Library. "It's a wonderful community," said Sheriff Grady Judd. Suzette Penton helped make it a wonderful community with the work she did with the children at the library. She always went above and beyond. She was known and loved by the people of Polk City. She was known to dress up for the children at the library. A friend of Suzette's, Ann Blethen, told WFLA in Tampa that every kid in town loves Suzette because she's just that type of person. She was flamboyant. She was just an outgoing, wonderful person. She was also known as a protective mother. She was an awesome mother that was willing to die for her kids, Ann added. Suzette's Facebook intro reads, "Above all, I believe in God, and I know He will balance the books on the ugly you do to others, so be kind." Her final Facebook photo was posted 2 days before the incident. There were 3 witnesses who testified as to what they saw that afternoon. It was sometime after 3:30 p.m. when Edna and her husband Billy Smith were coming home from the dollar market in Polk City. They had just turned on Berkeley Road when they saw the incident. Meanwhile, Polk County Utilities employee Jeff Goolsby had just gotten off work when he took Berkeley Road that afternoon. He had passed the Penton home when, in his rearview mirror and as his car was moving, he saw Suzette cross the road and then moments later get run over. He made a U-turn and gave chase when he saw the van wasn't stopping. He then called 911.
"I'm following a van. You probably just got a phone call. I'm following the van that just ran this lady over.
Like a
I mean,
person on foot or a vehicle?
Yes,
Okay, ran.
a lady on foot.
Okay,
The people
where
in the
was
van
she?
ran.
Where was she?
She was,
Know what you mean? Okay. And it's a
okay,
van.
so I had
What
to
color
turn
van?
around.
What color?
It is a blue van.
Like a big full size?
Yeah, full size. I think it's a Ford Econoline van. It's blue, like a darker blue.
Okay, and
I'm trying to stay back. I don't know if these people got
Yeah,
a gun or what, but
careful.
they just mowed that poor lady
Do
down.
you know where that they came from? Which direction on? From 33?
They were parked, actually.
And then they took off?
Yes.
As this was happening, Billy went to check on Suzette, but he said it looked bad. The 911 call you heard at the beginning was the Smiths. Edna testified that she saw Suzette holding up her phone as she trailed 3 teenagers, who we now know to be 16-year-old Raven Sutton, 14-year-old Hannah Eubank, and 18-year-old Elijah Stansel, who was behind the other 2. She said it looked as though Suzette was in a hurry. More importantly, it looked like she was upset about something. The 52-year-old was home on her lunch break on this Monday when the youngest of her 4 sons, 14-year-old Austin, asked her if they could go to the Circle K convenience store to get a drink. Suzette asked her other son, 17-year-old Hunter, if he also wanted a drink, to which he said yes. By that point, Hunter had driven himself from school. He was preparing for work at McDonald's when his mom and brother left. Home surveillance footage shows them leaving the residence. In the background were the 4 teens sitting in the dark blue van parked on the grass across from the Penton home. They were waiting for Hunter's mother to leave. Sometime later, Hunter hears a knock at the front door. To understand why this was not typical, the Pentons did not actually use their front door. It had no knob, and there was furniture up against its interior side. They instead used the side door to get in and out. The only people who would knock on the unused front door were those who simply didn't know this fact. At first, Hunter thought it was the parts he ordered for his pickup truck, so he made his way to the side entrance and stepped out to see 2 people he wasn't familiar with, and Hannah, who he knew as his classmate. As this was during the pandemic, Raven and Elijah were wearing masks. Trailing them was Hannah, who was holding up a phone. He first made contact with Elijah, a construction worker who was wearing his work shirt. Hunter testified that Elijah told him they were here to pick up parts from the backyard. The Pentons had recently torn down a building on the property, so there was some equipment and debris that needed to be removed. But then, as Hunter turned a bit, he said he realized that his mom didn't say anything about it. He then turned to face Elijah, who immediately grabbed his shirt and started throwing punches. Elijah didn't say anything before the punch, Hunter said. The 2 then began to tussle, with Hunter getting the upper hand for a good part of the fight. It carried on inside the house, where Raven jumped in. The fight was captured on surveillance video from inside the home. Hunter said he had no idea what was happening. At some point, the 3 heard a car pulling up to the carport. It was Suzette and Austin, who caught the tail end of the fight. That's when the 3 teens decided to start heading back to the van. Hunter said Suzette saw her son's face bloodied from what he said was a broken nose. That's when Suzette raced after the teens. She had pulled out her phone to take photos of the assailants, all the while raging at them. "Who the f*** do you think you are?" Suzette said. "You're going to jail." Further surveillance footage would tell the rest. Suzette is approaching the teens from the passenger side door, which is to the driver's right. Elijah, who is the driver, then cranks the van and turns left as Suzette laterals toward the driver's side to take more photos, but is still in front of the van. She is then hit and run over. Tire marks from the scene show that the van's back tires had been spinning in place as Elijah hit the accelerator. As it happened, the atmosphere in the van was panicked, Kimberly told the detective. He stopped, looked, and then we were like, "Do we keep driving?" Kimberly said. She said he elected to keep driving. Kimberly told the detective that Elijah, the son of a minister who got permission to use the church van, had picked her up from Auburndale High School earlier that afternoon. They then went to the Dollar General where they met and picked up Raven and Hannah, who was Kimberly's best friend. They then traveled to Hunter's house. Kimberly said she didn't catch any of the fight between Hunter and Elijah because she didn't want to look. She told the detective that her phone was with Hannah, who was recording the altercation. She did, however, catch them hustling and hurrying into the van. We weren't going that fast, Kimberly said, adding Elijah maybe moved 10 miles fast when he pulled out of park. That's when Hunter's mom walked out and we didn't have time to stop, she said. She had just started running up towards the van, she added. Elijah said, "Oh my God," and he tried to slam on the brakes, but because I could feel this jolt. I don't know, it was before we hit her, but I could feel him jolt trying to slam on the brakes, and then he just rammed into her. And then I just seen her just rolling and I went into an anxiety attack because I have really bad anxiety, Kimberly added. And I just started freaking out crying. I was like, Elijah, stop, we can't keep driving. What if, what if all of this stuff, and then he's like, it's fine. She said Elijah did not stop because Suzette's youngest son, Austin, had been running up to the van and they didn't want another altercation. When asked if Elijah knew he hit her, Kimberly said she didn't know, but she did say that she was able to see at least the top of Suzette's head from the back. I don't think he knew he hit her because he kept going, she said. If Elijah knew he would have hit her, he would have stopped. When asked why he would yell, "Oh God," and then hit his brakes before it happened if he didn't see her, she said she didn't know. She then offered that he said, "Oh God," because Suzette was running toward the van. But I'm not sure, she added. I don't know why he yelled it. He might have seen her, he might have not. I'm not sure. As they left the area, Hannah picked up the phone she'd been holding the entire time and uttered 8 breathtaking words. "Tell me how we videoed that whole thing." We know for sure these were Hannah's exact words because the entire 5-minute incident, from just before the fight, all the way through to the hysteria after Suzette was hit, was retrieved by investigators, which means you, the viewer, will see them. They are recordings made all the more horrifying because 16 days after the incident, on November 25th, Lakeland Regional would declare Suzette Penton dead. Grace Amato was a biology and chemistry teacher at Auburndale High School at the time of the incident. She had both Hunter and Kimberly as students in her 11 a.m. chemistry class that fall. On the morning of the incident, before the start of class, Grace had been monitoring the halls when she felt there was some tension in the air. Grace was fairly in tune with what was going on. She was clued into student problems, grudges, and even who had a relationship with who. It turned out that 6 months prior, in March 2020, Hunter and Kimberly began dating each other. But she also knew that, as recently as the summer, the couple had a falling out. Hunter, Kimberly would say, broke it off with her. On this day, as she was in the hall, Grace noticed Kimberly was agitated. Before the start of class, Grace's phone rang. It was the assistant principal's office, and the dean wanted to see Hunter. Hunter and his new girlfriend Dakota were asked to sign no-contact forms, which meant that they were not to engage with Kimberly following some arguments between Hunter and his ex-girlfriend. Kimberly said she was the one who filed the no-contact request after she alleged Hunter said some bad things about her. All of this was happening as Grace was teaching her class. She said Kimberly was engaged in class all the way up to the moment Hunter walked in. Grace said he had quietly sat down at his seat, which was purposely positioned on the opposite side of the class from where Kimberly was seated. But Kimberly simply couldn't bottle it in. She lost it, and the relative calm classroom environment turned chaotic. She and her friends had started to yell in Hunter's direction. Grace had tried to get Kimberly removed from the class, but her words failed. She wasn't going to try to physically remove her because she was pregnant at the time. So she enlisted the help of the dean, who brought Kimberly back to the principal's office and formally suspended her for 3 days, which would begin the day after. She then called Elijah to pick her up. Elijah would have seen Kimberly's frustration that day, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. Diving deeper, you see that Kimberly and Hunter had been beefing regularly after their breakup. The no-contact forms were a culmination of bad blood that lingered for months. Hunter alleged that Kimberly went around telling everyone that he had no money, he was making nothing, he did nothing, he was a horrible boyfriend, and he did everything wrong. Her friends, and perhaps Kimberly herself, also alleged that he had been cheating on Kimberly when they were dating. Kimberly alleged in court that Hunter was telling people that she had sex with a lot of guys and that her stepdad molested her. But she would allege that Hunter had a far more consequential rumor he was spreading around school. A rumor that didn't just implicate Kimberly, but would destroy Elijah's life. He was going around school telling people I was a pregnant slut, Kimberly told the detective in the initial interview. Elijah's 18, so if the rumors that I'm pregnant were to have been taken seriously, Elijah could have got, jail time, she said, alluding to Florida's laws against a sexual relationship between an 18 and a 15-year-old. The two had been sending each other messages over social media, specifically the Snapchat app. Hunter alleged that Kimberly was sending harassing messages regularly in the months leading up to the altercation, but that it only got threatening the day before, when she allegedly sent him a message telling him he was going to get hit and that her boyfriend was going to handle it tomorrow. Despite that, Hunter claimed in testimony that he didn't know who Elijah was, nor did he know that he was going to pay him a visit that day, though he did admit that at some point that day, he searched for Elijah on Facebook. I don't know if they wanted to go talk or if they wanted to go fight, Kimberly told a detective about how they wanted to deal with Hunter. I wanted a fight, I'm not gonna lie. I got suspended from school for fighting and trying to fight him. But I was letting go. They were like, well, you and your boyfriend can get arrested if you try to fight him. Kimberly directed the group to Hunter's house. When they got there, she handed Hannah her phone to record the entire event so she could watch later. The teens then made the fateful decision to settle the beef.
Pulling up whenever you say pull up and don't think we won't actually pull up. Hold on, Raven. Should Raven knock and bring him out here? Yeah. Raven! Bring Hunter over here. Bring him over here. How are we going to get him over here? What are you going to say? Can you think fast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what do we want to actually do though?
Bring him over here and then Elijah's just going to start opening it up. I'm thinking, should we tell him that it's going to be
Hey,
fine?
we want to do this in the front yard?
Elijah!
Yeah, girl.
I'm not going to walk out in front of his
I've
house.
stayed for like 5 minutes. Hey. Jakes. Yeah. Down.
Say my name is Promise. Because I don't like that bitch. Her voice annoys me.
I'll jump in if you
This door? Or this one?
I don't know.
Let's go
Fucking camera though. Where?
over here. Not over here. Good right here.
Find that doorknob.
Fucking talk shit about my best friend, stupid ass fucking cunt! Oh! Get him, Elijah! Swing on his ass!
Hit him in the fucking head!
Yeah! Get his fucking head! Fuck you! Fucking talk shit about my fucking best friend, telling her fucking business! Who the fuck do you think you are? The fuck do you think you are? Get up, Elijah! Get up!
Get up, Elijah!
Get up! Fuck that!
Come on, Elijah, get up!
Come on, get him in his own fucking house! Dumbass fucking pussy ass bro!
Get out, please. Come on, go.
Go. You see his whole fucking face fucked up? Every goddamn one of you motherfuckers. Oh my god. Elijah, run! He fucking cheated on her! He wants to fucking fuck around on her! He saw what he fucking got! Get in the car, Elijah! Fuck you! Fuck you! Elijah! 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 Why did you do that? Elijah! Oh my god, Elijah, what the fuck? You're getting... Elijah! It's okay.
We fucking won, though.
Elijah, what the fuck? Get to the house now! Drop Raven off. Babe, what the fuck? You just ran her over! Oh my god! Babe, what the fuck? Okay, here!
Signs off.
Give me a water bottle! Oh my god, a water bottle! What the fuck? You just ran her over!
We got half on the barn. Now they got a fucking sticker on there. Fuck. Alright, what about Raven? Hang up. Just wait till it's all over. Know what happened is she jumped out in front of the fucking car. Let's get our story straight now. Alright. She jumped out in front of the fucking car. That's a discussion. Yep.
We don't tell nobody.
Where we clean out the fucking grill of the car and make sure there's no hair or blood. Yeah.
We don't tell nobody, not even like Elijah, just go to your house.
My house?
Yes. Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell my dad. Fuck!
Okay, he wasn't.
No!
He wasn't here.
Fucking wear the hat anymore. Bro, we got better clothes. Fuck, I had the company shirt on. Oh, we gotta get the fuck out of here, out of Berkeley. I'm gonna cops all over the place. Man, I've been hit by 3 cars, and not one of them has received legal action. Yeah, but you never got ran over. Yeah, I did. 3 times.
Ran over?
Yes.
Okay. And what?
Nothing ever happened.
You called during the middle of one of them. Tell me how we videoed that whole thing.
Using both tire impressions on the grass and where Suzette eventually rested, investigators at the scene were able to determine how far the van had to travel to hit her. Suzette, they concluded, was a whole 4 feet and 7 inches from the front grille of the van when she was impacted. In other words, Elijah had to travel some distance to strike her. That fact would change how investigators viewed the case and how severely the state would charge it. While Suzette was still in the ICU, all 4 teens were charged with attempted murder and burglary with assault, among other charges. After she died, 3 took either plea deals or pled no contest. Raven Sutton, who engaged in the assault on Hunter, pled no contest to 1 count of burglary with assault and 1 count of conspiracy to commit burglary with assault. He was sentenced to 8 years in state prison. Hannah Eubank, the youngest of the 4 but the cheerleader of the group, pled guilty to the 2 counts of burglary with assault and was sentenced to 6 years in state prison. Kimberly Stone, the mastermind of the plan, pled no contest to the 2 counts of burglary with assault. She was given 7 years in state prison. All 3 were given credit for time served as they awaited their fate. None had a criminal history except for Hannah, who had a previous charge in the juvenile system for providing a false ID to law enforcement. She was described by Sheriff Judd as having a
really bad attitude.
Elijah was the only one charged with first-degree murder and pled not guilty. He declined to testify at a short trial. There are two ways a jury in Florida can find a person guilty of murder in the first degree. There is the standard first-degree premeditated murder, where the defendant follows through on their intention to kill the victim. And then there is first-degree felony murder, in which the defendant murders someone while escaping from a scene where they committed or attempted to commit a felony. The state does not need to prove premeditation for the latter. The jury can find a mix of both in its deliberation in a mandatory unanimous guilty verdict. The state posited that the felony from which the teens were fleeing was burglary, a misconception of which is that things must be stolen from the property. In fact, a burglary can be the entry into the home owned by the victim to assault someone. The state's arguments were that there was a plan to assault Hunter, that the teens eventually entered the home and assaulted him there, constituting the burglary, and that as they were fleeing, Elijah saw and hit Suzette. The defense argued that the fight began outside of the home and that Elijah, who never intended to go inside the home, was pushed inside. That Elijah had no intention of hurting Suzette, and above all that, because Suzette was coming from the passenger side of the van, Elijah didn't see her when he turned into her. Elijah did admit in his initial interview with the detective that he thought he had hit her with his side view mirror. She caused her own death. She did. That's exactly what happened, the defense said, apologizing for the bluntness. She was taking the law in her own hands. She's out there taking photographs. Why is she doing this? She's already got a picture of Mr. Stansel. She's already got a clear picture of Mr. Stansel on her phone. The defense also argued that there was a shift in Elijah's tune during the drive, as he oscillated between elation at a perceived fight win to panic when everyone was telling him that he had just run Suzette over. Elijah's team also argued that it's not clear who actually said delete the vid in the cell recording, suggesting that it could have been Raven. While the state wasn't arguing that Elijah drove to Suzette's home to kill her, it argued there was a high degree of probability that Elijah saw Suzette and that he had enough time and space to avoid her, but didn't. The prosecution first established that Elijah's view wasn't obstructed by the height of the full-sized van itself. From the ground to the top of the steering wheel, the van's front was measured at 5 feet 3 inches tall. Suzette was 5 feet 5 inches tall. Also recall that Kimberly said she was able to see at least the top of Suzette's head from the back. If you freeze the phone video, you can see she is in the back seat on the driver's side. The state also brought forward the testimony of a detective who measured how far the van had to travel to hit Suzette, which was 4 feet and 7 inches. Investigators in the state argue that Elijah, let alone all the time to think about the fact that Suzette was chasing him, had a full 3 seconds to make a decision. And it was the wrong one. In June 2022, Elijah Stansel was found guilty of first-degree murder and burglary. He was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole plus 15 years for the burglary.
Usually, when you have murders, you have drug deals gone bad. You have relationship fights. You have long-standing feuds. You have horrible criminal conduct, robberies. You don't see that they all went up there to have a teenage fight. And it turned to murder. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind, when you see that video, he had every opportunity in the world not to run over this lady. But he didn't. He chose to take the church van, which was intended for good, and used it for evil. And he needs to go to prison. You see, Suzette didn't get to be with her family on Thanksgiving. She didn't get to share the joy of being with her children on Thanksgiving Day. She'll never have the opportunity again to teach wonderful young children in the Polk City area right from wrong and how to improve their lives. She'll never have that opportunity because of him and because Kimberly wanted him to go up there and beat up Hunter. Evil.
The loudest of the group, Hannah Eubank, seemed to be taking her circumstances the hardest. This is the same girl who said, when told by the detective that Suzette may not make it out alive, "I was already told that. I don't want to hear that anymore." In July 2022, while at the juvenile housing facility, the now 16-year-old Hannah got herself in more trouble. She exited her cell to take some prescribed medication and then was told to return to her cell, but she refused. The supervisor then pushed Hannah inside. Hannah responded by swinging at the supervisor, cutting her in the forehead. The supervisor pulled out her pepper spray and used it. Hannah, who blamed the incident on a PTSD episode, pled guilty to battery and was given an additional 60 months. After the incident and before sentencing, Hannah sent letters to the judge inquiring about being released on probation to correct her path in life. A life that she said consisted of abuse, rape, homelessness, and a mother who caused her PTSD and depression. "Yes, it took me coming to jail to realize my potential," she said in one November 2022 letter, "but I pray constantly that it's not too late for me." She claimed that she had made improvements while incarcerated, including graduating from school, and said if released, she will live with her sister, have jobs lined up, and will be free from drugs, rapists, and negative influences. She had hoped for a release by that December. "I want hope, I want stability, and I want a future," she said. When Hannah and the other two are released, and if they stay in Polk City, they will be reminded of that day in November 2020. That's because the community library Suzette led was renamed after her. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to me narrate the story, which was based on the primary sources. Special mention must go to the local reporters who bring light to these cases, to the court clerks for helping with the case files, and to you guys for engaging in the subject matter. I hope you all are well, you're staying out of trouble, you're doing nice things for people, and please don't be this band of kids. Goodbye.